The main crux of any good quality management system is one source of truth. That's basically it. How you package it up and deliver it to your people is subject to your resources and your budget and so forth.
Okay, you've probably seen the red logo with the 5 white ticks on it and thought that company has spent a lot of money getting to a stage where they can put that logo on their goods, on their products, on their website to say that they are fantastic, that they do a quality job. But there's a lot more to that red logo and the 5 ticks, and maybe that's not all we need to know about. But I just want to share one of the worst experiences I've ever had as an employee. And that was the day that the partners in the accounting firm I was working at came out and said, guess what, everybody? We're going to go through this process to be certified as a quality organization. And we all looked at each other with some blank looks and thought, well, what does that mean? And they elaborated and said, what it means is we're going to go through this painful process, redesigning everything we do. And at the end of the day, it means we're going to be able to tender for these government audits, to which we thought, well, that doesn't really excite us. But there are a lot of misconceptions out there in the market about what the quality control or the quality logo actually represents and why it is actually of benefit to businesses. So we'll ignore my past experience, which was dreadful, and we're going to talk to somebody who will share why it is a fantastic experience and a fantastic opportunity for your business, and that's John Mason from Quality.com. John has been in this game for 30 plus years. He knows the quality systems, the quality processes ins and outs. He's been in the managing director of Quality.com for a very long time. He's an authority on the subject, has written books, well sought after as a speaker, and has helped a lot of organisations, but from small, medium, and large, to get that red logo and much more on their documentation. So, John, welcome to the Business Behind Your Business podcast. It's great to have you with us, and we're looking forward to hearing some truth on the matter of what quality actually is.
Heaven forbid. And thanks for the opportunity to speak with you and perhaps help your clients in and going down that journey. Your story is not an unusual story, and the quality system and quality accreditation story started way back in the early 90s last century, and it got a whole swag of momentum and BS around it about what you need to do. And in the olden days, it was very much, if you wanted to deal with state or federal government, in particular the Queensland government, without the red box and the 5 white ticks, you couldn't deal business with them. So it was a real business case around it. That was also 4 iterations ago of the standard, and the quality standard is ISO 9001. And it's had, as I said, 4 iterations. And last century, it was onerous, it was prescriptive, it forced people down the path of what used to be do what you document and document what you do. But unfortunately, it was a bit like crap in, crap out in that scenario. So it doesn't necessarily make you a better company, but it certainly gave you that red box and 5 white ticks and let you sell staples to the Queensland government or stationery and stuff like that. So that was true and accurate. In 1996, the incumbent John Howard comes in and says, what the heck is going on? I don't want to know about that. Let's make it horses for courses. So if you're selling me stationery, you don't need it. But if you're building me a bridge or a freeway, I want you to have it. So it recalibrated the market. And then, of course, the new versions of the standard took away a lot of the prescriptions. They stopped pretending to know what your industry was and what you need to do to be successful in the industry. And they said, hey guys, you know your industry, you know your risk, you know your market segments, put together something that's meaningful for you, and then allow us to judge you against the international standard. And we can then edify you with a certificate. And so it's taken a lot of the angst out. It's taken a lot of that BS out of having to write down things that just were millstones around more commercially focused companies. It also took it away when it was first put in. It was very much focused on manufacturing. And then they realised whether there are service deliverers as well. And then they realised there was logistics and widget manufacturers, of course, and of course software and so forth. So they enabled it to be interpreted across any size company and any market sector. So that was very good. In those bad old days, the person who issued the standard was Standards Australia, and they just happened to be the people who gave you a certificate on those standards. And so that's where that red box and the 5 white ticks. So if you look under most bike helmets, you'll find there's a red box and 5 white ticks there. That's actually a product certification. And it just says if you wear this, you got the best protection allowed for a bike helmet. So it then transferred into the certification of management systems, and that became the mark, and everyone wanted that mark. Today, there are 142 organisations just within Australia that provide you with certification, and there's 141 other brands around that. So the red box and the 5 white ticks is just one. All right, so as long as at the bottom of the corner there's a thing called JAZANS, an acronym at the bottom, then you know you're getting your certificate from a bona fide organisation.
So the situation you've described has really been, it was a response to a government directive initially.
Yes.
Which was very prescriptive about these sorts of things, what you have to have in your processes and systems, and you have to make sure that everything you do complies with that. And then there was an audit process in there. So it was very, I guess, onerous for a lot of businesses, which sort of ruled out your small and medium business owners from a cost point of view, because it was quite costly. But the situation we've got today, as you described, we've got a lot more players in the market, but we've also got a more practical approach to quality control and the certification. But I think one of the things that I guess we get a bit confused about is, what do we actually mean by quality?
Oh. Actually, well, the quality is actually a science, and there are basically 3 tiers to it. And the first is quality control. And if you cast your memory back, it's a bunch of men and women in white lab coats with 6-inch steel rulers in their pocket, measuring widgets as they came off the production line, saying, yes, this one's good to go or not. Very important, and very important in certain industries to have 100% quality control checks on everything that goes down. I'm pretty sure, hopefully I'd never have to, but if I have to have a heart valve, I'm pretty sure I'd love to know that every single one of them was tested before it got put into my body. So a very important component, but it creates waste. So if they don't make it out of the right material and the right size, and it gets to the person with steel ruler, it's not 6 inches wide, they throw it away. We still get a good product, but the company goes broke, thrown away 9 out of 10 things. So quality control's there. Then you have quality management or quality assurance. And what that means is you put processes and methodologies in place, so by the time that heart valve gets to the QC person, it's always going to be right. So we've made it to the right specification. We had a go, no-go block somewhere as part of the work in progress. So any fault or any deviation was engineered and taken out of it, and it's giving you the best product when it gets to the quality control. However, you still might not be the most sustainable or the most cost effective, and therefore you have a science called total quality management, or some people might have heard of lean manufacturing, or someone might have heard of the 6-hat decision making, where you look at, don't accept the norm and try and make it better. So you can make it greener, you can make it more effectively, you can efficiently, and so forth, and then you can get real controls. In the certification game, it focuses on the central quality assurance. Do you have processes in place to ensure that the right product gets to the end user? In the certification space, it does say, and by all means, put together a framework so you can then have continuous improvement. So it doesn't actually test the continuous improvement model. It just says you have to have one in place to be able to go down the total quality management side of it. And that's where a lot of people get a little bit confused. They try and go down the continuous improvement path first, and therefore you run your company via committee, trying to get things done, trying to make things perfect. You'll never be ready for the certification game. But we'll focus on get you the certificate and the quality assurance first.
Yeah. So we've gone from the measuring the end result, where it's a case of let's judge how our process went at the end point, to the assurance or management process, where we're actually putting in place, this is how we're going to do it, and this is what you need to do, and this is the standard we need to do, and this is what it needs to look like. So that when we get to that test stage, more of our product is going to pass.
Yes.
And that's the aim. But as you said, we could still have wastage in there, and that's where your quality process comes into play with all of your other systems and management. So your accounting, how costly is it for you to do this? Is there a more efficient way, cost effective? But what I'm seeing here is we're not just, it's not the guy at the end with the ruler giving it a whack and saying, no, that failed. We're actually looking at how do we get a better widget at the end, or how do we get a better heart valve or a more consistent delivery of the heart valve, which is a benefit to everybody that, or particularly anybody that needs it. But how do we make sure that process comes through? Now, so that I'm guessing though that process or that level of assurance is going to be different for different styles of businesses, different industries.
Correct. Absolutely correct. And it really is horses for courses, where it's really important. I'm always amazed, any of those who live in Sydney or anyone who's been involved with any sort of tunnelling project from end to end, they meet in the middle. Fantastic. How do they do that? A good quality management system makes sure that happens, right? So, and you want to have 100 engineers, and you want to have GA testing, and you want to make sure everything's absolutely right, compared to the person who all they're doing is sourcing, and please don't take it wrong, the cheapest, nastiest piece of paper clips from anywhere on the planet to be used once and to be able to be recycled. So it is send me a sample, test it, accept it, and 2 containers come over. I put it in other boxes and sell it. So really is, and that's why the new standards or the current standards are so much more commercially focused, where you can determine your own risk profile, right? Thankfully, in the higher risk industries, there is regulation, all right, and the management system says you have to identify that and meet it, all right, but really, if you're only trying to hold 2 pieces of paper together for 15 minutes, this is the right tool to use, and so you make your commercial decisions around that.
Yeah, well, that's comforting to know, because I would hope that somebody building a bridge or a tunnel will be subject to much stricter standards of quality than somebody that's creating paper clips. If I get a bad paper clip, it's annoying, but I just pull another one out of the box. But if I'm driving over a bridge and it collapses because nobody met the quality standards, well, there's a lot more at stake there. So it's good to hear that we have different standards. So now I'm guessing, though, in getting to this framework of quality and certification, there is a good way and a bad way to go about it. And I think someone with 30 years or more experience in the business would have come up with a quality system for getting quality certification.
Yeah. Well, correct. The main crux of any good quality management system is one source of truth. That's basically it. How you package it up and deliver it to your people is subject to your resources and your budget and so forth. But what you need to do is to have confidence that if anyone needs to validate or verify a particular aspect of their commercial activity, it's only 1, 2, 3 mouse clicks away, or butcher paper flips, or video clips away to showing you what you have to do. All right. And so, yes, there are platforms out there and software out there which are fantastic that can manage that for you, as simple as a local area network and Windows Explorer, through to SharePoint, through to we have our own proprietary product called My Quality that bundles it all into one place, which enables people to be able to find it. But in actual fact, most organisations run as a tribe. They run as a collective set of knowledge. And if you're not quite sure what keystroke or what function button to push to approve a purchase order, you lean over to the next cubicle and say, is it F6 or F5? And someone says F6, and it works, then that's where you've learned it. If it didn't work, you might want to double check with the ops manual to make sure it's the right thing. And when you need the confidence of when someone wants to find out and they open it up and read it and it tells them the right instruction, then you've got a quality assurance system that's working for you. As soon as there's any deviation, it says it's got to be F4, hit F4, your screen goes blank. Something's not quite right. But that can happen at any time, by the way. What you need to do then with your system is have the ability to raise a flag, to say, hey, I spoke to Bob, he didn't know. I opened up the manual and it turned my screen blank. Who do I tell to fix it? And this is the continuous improvement part. So you've drawn the line in the sand with your process. You've tested it, doesn't quite work. Now you've got a suggestion. I found out that the previous iteration of the software required F6. We need to have it reinstated into the process. We need to have maybe a bulletin or some refresher training around it. If the easier you can make that happen and give the feedback to the person who raises it, and to ensure that it gets changed and tested before it goes out, and it goes out and everyone's on the same page again, that's the benefit that any company can get from it. You know, the old suggestion box has such a good warrant, but how often did people stop putting suggestions in there because no one did anything with it? As long as your system does what is at least provided to review it, it's an untold, untapped wealth within the organisation. The collective knowledge is fantastic. So
yeah, and I think we overlook that. Your team, your employees are often one of your greatest assets because they'll tell you when things aren't working, and they'll tell you a better way to do the process or a more efficient way. So I guess as a business owner, you've got an obligation to listen. The old-fashioned suggestion box, well, used to be, I guess, pretty anonymous that you could put your suggestion in. But in a lot of organisations today, we've got 3 or 4 people and we know what their handwriting's like, so we know who it came from. But I think we need those open and frank discussions. But what I'm hearing here, John, is that there are benefits to the business other than just getting that logo, that certification, and the ability to, I guess, supply to government, to supply to larger corporations. What are the key benefits for any business to go through this process of quality assurance?
Well, there is definitely the big end of town. If you want to deal with the tier ones and the governments at any level, there's a certain amount of rigour that you'll go through any sort of request for quote or tendering process. And nearly all of them will ask you, do you have certification and or what are you doing about it? So if you're in that space, go for it and make it best to suit your needs as well as that tender response. And hopefully we won't do this. The economy's going pretty good, which might still be a little slow, getting back on track. I was down in Canberra and listened to the HSBC chief economists say it could be up to another 2 years. So it's circa September 2024, those listening to this podcast in a few years' time. And what will happen is your traditional market, your tier 2s, 3s, and who you normally sort of starts to dry up a little bit. And it needs you to then focus on organisations who are trying to mitigate their risk and they want to deal with suppliers and or providers that they haven't dealt with before. There needs to be a bit of confidence that they're going to deal with someone who understands what the contract's about, who understands what the quality assurance and the QC is about. And one way of demonstrating that is certification. It tells your prospects that there's a certain amount of confidence you will have from us having this certificate, that we'll be able to do it. And if we don't get it right, you have the confidence that we've got mechanisms to make it right. And right down to when you first start the initial negotiations, making sure you deliver the right terms and conditions to that prospect and not someone who's been hacked it on their C drive and given them 120 days just to get it across the line. But it's there, and it enables when the feedback comes back, it goes back into the continuous improvement loop so that we can actually decide, can we deliver this product or service or not? There's nothing wrong with walking away from a prospect or a business opportunity when you can't deliver it. And so that is where you'll get a great benefit in that process.
So we got that sales benefit there, and look, that's been an issue that we've had raise a lot of the time, that being the ability to sell to government, the ability to sell to big businesses, that it is a barrier for small business. But and they're looking for some kind of assurance, or I guess the big end of town are looking for some kind of assurance that you know what you're doing. And it's not just you saying that you know what you're doing. You've got this certification that says, hey, we know what we're doing and we do what we say we're going to do. So I guess that's an assurance for the big end.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, the other thing you touched on there, John, was that the ability for employees to know what is the step in the process, or where do they go to find the step in the process, and can you just sort of touch on what are some of the benefits there?
Yeah, it's the level of confidence as a business owner. If you're a general manager, a business owner, especially if you're a business owner who hasn't had a holiday in 3 years because they can't leave the business because there's no confidence that they'll be able to do it your way and so forth, putting in a quality management system in place which has simple steps of how to process an invoice, what's the approval process of paying checks, whatever the heck a check is, of approving an EFT, and so forth. There's a level of confidence within the organisation that you can leave Brian or Susie in accounts to be able to process payments because they know there's a methodology, a checklist, an authority limit to what they can do. And the old business owner says, fantastic, I'm off to the Bahamas for a week, knowing that at least that part of the business is going to just flow on. And they know that if it gets to a point that they can't make a decision or it's beyond them, that then they can escalate it through email or phone call to the business owner or so forth. So it's back to that one source of truth. It's no good having two lists of authority limits that don't speak the same language. They've got to know that this is the place where you go to find out what is right. And once you have that in place, then there's a great deal of strength and authority within the organisation.
Yeah. So that one source of truth that you're talking about is a key thing. Now, a lot of business owners I talk to have one source of truth. The problem is that one source of truth is buried in the recesses of their brain and walking around and captured in them, and that's the only way to access that one source of truth is to get on the phone and say, how do I do this, boss?
Yeah.
I heard recently I had a discussion with a client, and they said, I said, how's this new employee going? Oh, they're really good at their job, but they still ring me every 5 minutes to find out how to do something. And I said, well, that's a problem because there should be a documented system, source of truth saying this is how we do it. This is what you've got to do in this situation.
Interesting. Thankfully, I don't have terribly much of that. My own organisation is certified to 4 different standards, and the documentation is around about mind thoughtfulness and triggers there as opposed to doing it. If it's a mechanical thing, such as the person does my accounts, there's a video. This is how you push it through 0. That's it. Very simple. She's not sure. She goes there, she washes it, gets it. She's only washed it 3 or 4 times, and then she doesn't need to until we change it because we moved to NetSuite. Heaven forbid. But, we do that. So there's another. So it's real horses for courses stuff there. If you need to unpack the owner's 32 years of knowledge, one, you've got to start some stage, so may as well do it. But do the important stuff first. One set of terms and conditions, one set of authority limits for purchase orders, and so forth. So because you need to leverage off the smarts that your employees bring. Perhaps you need a system to hire the right people first, so they're not asking those questions. So the wonderful world of psychometric assessment, stuff like that. When I bring on someone on board, I go through a process, a different podcast, that they're not asking me, how do I tie my shoelaces? It just says, and now I tie my shoelaces at this point. John likes to see a second point at some stage, and we do it. So it's really interesting. I'll give you one simple example. I had a business credit card policy. It was only 3 lines. And it just says, this is for you to buy anything that a client wants and which we can then invoice, and to fill your car up with petrol. No limit. So just go that. You buy a packet of cigars or the loaf of bread on it, you will be fired. No 3 warnings. This is last century, by the way. No 3 warnings, no nothing. That's the rule. No one ever got fired for abusing the credit card rule, because they got to make those decisions, and they said, they've sent me to the Bahamas on a $40,000 first-class ticket. So the client wanted to take me there to make sure everything's right at that factory over there. Fantastic. Here's the email saying, get on the plane and come over now. Done. So sure, there's a little discrepancy on the way, but if you set the tone and set the thing, then when you unpack those important things first, the rest will drop out, and you'll stop worrying about those bigger items, and it'll give you more time to worry about some of the nuances and the wonderful, rich history that an owner will have in their own mind.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to unpack there, and I think what we've discovered is it's not about the box ticking exercise. It's not about purely the big end of town. There's benefits for every kind, shape, industry, or type of business whatsoever. How to get started, I would suggest that you've got a very good process of determining where's the best place to start. Where should we go?
Yeah, there's always three options here. You can go for the hit or miss, the learn and lump type thing. We'll try and do it. You'll learn a lot, and it'll take you 12 months, maybe 6 months, maybe 9 months, and the trial and error is okay. You can hire a subject matter expert. It is the most expensive way. A good quality manager, no matter what size organisation, is going to cost you between $100,000 and $250,000. All right, and depending on their capability or business acumen and so forth, you'll get a relatively good or convoluted system. It's all very good, but keeping that in-house and learning through that experience is a great way of doing it. And of course, you can always outsource it to a subject matter expert, a series of consultants who are only paid to do a scope of work to ensure that you get exactly what you need to the resources and budget that you have. If you choose that path, you can do it through, say, for instance, us as project managers, as joint venturists, or do everything for you. Each has a dollar value around it, but we could achieve it within 10 to 12 weeks for almost any size organisation and have a 100% certified certificate at the end of that process. 32 years, never had one fail yet.
That's a pretty impressive record, but, and look, I've spoken to other business owners who have gone through this process and have been very pleased with the outcome. So, to get started, should people just go to quality.com.au?
Absolutely correct. And there's a button there saying consulting services. Click the button, ask for a quote. We've got a unique thing in our industry. There's a thing that says pricing. Click on it. We'll give you some indicative prices instantly. So just knowing that at least you've got an understanding of what it might cost. So have a look and just see if it fits within your realms. Somewhere less than $250,000 for an employee, somewhere north of $76 to buy the standard and start going.
Yep. So look, I think after our discussion today, I think the answer is you at least should check out quality.com.au. Get some clarity about what you need to do and what's involved in the process. And look, you can spend that time learning it, but it's not the best use of your time. As a business owner, you've got a skill and you should be using that skill to grow your business and tap into the talents available and the expertise of other people to, leverage that and grow your business faster and stronger. So don't waste time doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing. Get the people with experience behind you and working for you. So check out quality.com.au. And John, thank you for your time today. It's been really enlightening. I've enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm sure our listeners have as well.
I'm sure too, and they have to be switched on listeners. They're already with Pretium Solutions. They're already trying to learn from you, the subject matter expert in all things financial and succession planning. So, they're already on the front foot there.
Thank you, John. Thanks for your time. And don't be afraid to check out quality.com.au.
Thanks, Paul.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Business Behind Your Business. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and valuable for your business journey. Before we go, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with fellow business owners who could benefit, and send in your burning questions because we love hearing from you. Missed any of our previous episodes or looking for additional resources to help grow your business? Head over to our website at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. There you'll find our full archive of past episodes, along with show notes, transcripts, and links to valuable resources mentioned in each episode. Your journey to business success continues at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and keep building the business of your dreams.